Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Grow Method. My name is Brett Sklar. I am the founder and lead ICMO at Grow Powerful, and I happen to host this great show called the Grow Method, where we talk about a lot of go-to-market strategies, go-to-market plans, and go-to-market tactics. Today, we want to talk about the fact and to explore why there is more supply than demand for a fractional CMO today, for a fractional chief marketing officer. And it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. I spend a lot of time talking to fractional CMOs. In fact, I watch that community closely, and I've created a community to support them. I also spend a lot of time talking to CEOs of mostly B2B tech companies, mostly SaaS companies. I also speak to investors, both private equity and venture capital, for these different types of companies as well. And I've learned quite a lot as we've explored this phenomenon. And I wanted to be able to share this information with you. So let's start talking about the fact that there is a problem with the supply demand curve with fractional CMOs right now. And it's creating this inverse demand curve, meaning there's more supply than there is demand. And that when that happens, and I'm no economist, nor am I a financial guru, nor am I a predictor of the future. But when you have a scenario like this where you have a lot more supply than demand, interesting things happen. So let me frame this for you, because I know most of you are CEOs or investors, and fractional CMOs might not be a familiar term to you. And I want to talk to you about that a little bit. But fractional CMOs are actually not a new thing. They've been around for a long time. But in the past 18 months, it's been growing hugely. Since the beginning of 2023, I think the number of fractional CMO titles on LinkedIn have quadrupled. So let's talk about what's happening to cause that. The pandemic changed a lot of things, especially for CMOs in B2B tech. And I speak from the B2B marketing, B2B tech side of things. A couple of things happened. Number one, the great resignation, which I know we talk about when it comes to retail, when it comes to food services. However, the great resignation hit marketing leaders and chief marketing officers in B2B tech really hard. And here's why. It's tough to be a CMO at a B2B company. It's tough to be a VP of sales, a CFO, a CEO, especially, and all the other titles as well. But there's a lot less gratification and fulfillment from a CMO. A CMO is kind of helping everyone out, and so gets credit for really nothing, and does a lot more work than the marketing realm expects of them. And they work really hard. And a lot of times it's very unfulfilling because things may happen and revenue may happen, but it's hard to attribute everything to the activity of a CMO. So the great resignation was taking place, since the midpoint of COVID, and it really hit CMOs hard. That's when I've started to see a lot of people in the B2B tech world become fractional CMOs. But then also this year, since January, we've had a freeze up in the capital markets towards investing in tech companies. That's hit B2B tech companies incredibly hard and incredibly, right in the face, a throat punch, a punch in the nose to plans and strategies of these growing and emerging, B2B tech companies. And when a downsizing happens, a CMO is one of the top ones to go. There's other people as well, especially the salespeople that may not be performing quite to where they need to be yet, but they were going to be given a little bit more opportunity. People in HR, people in finance, a lot of people, when the capital markets freeze up and companies don't know how much longer they're going to be able to hold on to their cash, they do things to make that cash runway last longer. And then a third thing, if you've followed me at all, you know that I talk about the rise of the fake fractional CMO, or fake fractional chief marketing officer. And these are the people who haven't really been a CMO or a VP of marketing or a head of marketing for a tech company, They've been maybe a copywriter or an SEO specialist or someone that's a specialist that's been told, and this is very, very bad, but they've been told that if you give yourself the title of fractional chief marketing officer, guess what? You can be perceived more strategic and you can charge more. Here's the problem. If you go in to look at their background, if you look at their LinkedIn profile, they went from being, maybe a content manager at an agency to being a fractional CMO. And that causes all kinds of problems. We have to, my company Grow, that has about 30 of the greatest growth minds in all of B2B technology and serves them up as fractional CMOs. We have to go in and we have to clean up the mess. And it is a shit show at the F factory of mess when we come in to take over for people who are not real CMOs. And so what's happening is there's an incredible amount of talent that's being formed because of all these things going on. In B2B tech and in SaaS especially, this incredible talent that's becoming a fractional CMO is growing and growing and growing. The problem is, and we'll talk about the demand side of it in a minute, but it's not following a typical demand curve. All of these incredibly talented people who might have called themselves a consultant for a little while, or might have called themselves, pretty much a consultant, are now calling themselves fractional chief marketing officers. And so there's a huge, huge explosion in the supply side of the idea of a fractional CMO. So it's not following that typical demand curve. It's supply looking for demand, not demand in need of supply. And that can be bad. So here's what some of the fractional CMOs are starting to do. And I like what I'm seeing. And again, this is more for CEOs who haven't thought about or haven't considered the concept of a fractional CMO. But we're starting to see more specialty. I'll give you a couple of examples. Someone who says, I am a fractional CMO with a specialty in helping companies leverage AI, artificial intelligence. Or I am a fractional CMO with a focus on brand integration. Or I'm a fractional CMO who specializes in go-to-market strategies. And the term go-to-market strategies is just becoming the central way to talk about the revenue or the front side of a business. Private equity firms have been using it for a long time. VC firms have been using it for a long time. Now we as CMOs and we as fractional CMOs are really understanding the need and the power of the term go-to-market. So we're starting to see these specialties, and it might even look like this. I'm a fractional CMO who helps healthcare technology companies get to that next level of growth. Or I am a fractional CMO who understands the need and the criticality of information security for emerging tech companies. Something like that. So again, you're getting a lot more of that specialty in place, a lot more of that focus in place. And so the idea of a fractional CMO generically is not as scary as it was maybe a few months ago. So, some people are, and so why are people becoming fractional CMOs? Some of them are doing it because they're also looking for a job, but they're looking for something to fill their LinkedIn gap, with something. Or maybe they say, you know what, I've been burned so many times. I don't want to go into another, long-term relationship with a company. I want to be a fractional CMO and maybe work part-time or work interim. And if and only if I love that company and the company loves me back, might I consider a full-time opportunity? And that's great for the fractional CMOs. And it's incredible for the CEOs or their investors who need, real strategic market, superpower capabilities. So some are doing it while they're looking for jobs, and that's okay. Some actually want to do this as their permanent gig. One of the things we joke about is the fact that the average lifespan of a CMO in B2B tech is like 18 months. So we all kind of feel interim or fractional anyway. So why not embrace it? So a lot of people are tired of the jobs and they prefer gigs over jobs. And then some just aren't sure and they might be testing the market. And that's probably the majority of people. And they're doing everything they can to win business. Obviously, referrals, obviously having a good reputation, being known in the industry or being known in a segment is really good. Um, you see a lot of people, especially fractional CMOs, who are getting into the habit of posting daily and really trying to drum up their LinkedIn presence. To do a lot of things. They're starting their own podcasts. They're starting their own blogs. They're actually building websites and treating their business like a real business, and that's fantastic. So, there's a lot of fractional CMOs. They're doing a lot of work to really gain business. And in the B2B tech space, one of the challenges is every fractional CMO feels like every other fractional CMO is a competitor. So we have a lot of work to do to figure out how to work as a community, but we'll get there. Now, let's take a look at the other side, and that's the demand side and the needs of the businesses. Here's the truth. Company leaders, CEOs or owners or whatever, they don't need a fractional CMO. They don't care about the term fractional CMO. They don't even give a shit what it means. They need problems solved. They need specific problems solved. And they might look like a couple of these things. A company might feel like they need to stop the random acts of marketing. And especially in the world of AI and new innovative technologies that are being introduced to the marketing and sales motions all the time, a CEO might step in and say, I need to stop all these random acts of marketing and build discipline into what we're doing. We need somebody who's been there, done that, really experienced to be able to solve that problem. Another option is somebody who isn't sure if they really need a CMO or not. Maybe they're being told by their investors or their board of directors or their peers, hey, you really need a CMO. However, they don't really know what to do with a CMO or how they would use a CMO. And they may not be able to afford a real senior CMO. So they decide to leverage a fractional CMO for a couple of days a week and see how that goes. They also might have specific needs, things like launching a new product and needing somebody to really focus and keep their eye on the ball that has good market leadership. They may be going through a rebrand. A lot of cases, people might need a fractional CMO who specializes in brand integration because there may be an acquisition or a roll-up taking place. And that's one of the best times to bring in a fractional CMO to look at how you go from having 2 marketing programs into 1. Another one, especially that's hot right now, is how to deploy AI, and needing, a real adult at the table, needing a real smart person that understands AI and understands the marketing motions on how AI can be leveraged and not going overboard with things. So those are just a couple of examples, but in none of those cases did someone say, I need a fractional CMO. They said, I need help solving a specific problem, and maybe somebody can help me do it. And maybe that person might happen to be called a fractional CMO. But typically what I hear from the CEOs I talk to is they feel the need to have another adult at the table, meaning somebody that's got great experience, somebody that's been there, done that a couple of times, knows how to say no to things just as much how to say yes, knows how to build the machine and build the reporting structure. All those things are critical for a successful and scalable go-to-market program. They need someone who's been there, done that many, many times, that knows how to shy away from issues or shy away from things that might become issues. They know how to predict what's going to happen. They know how to compete and how to think about and leverage a competitive landscape. They need another adult at the table, somebody who's been there and done that. They also need someone who can fill a gap in their market strategy. Maybe it is something around competition. Maybe it is something around leveraging, different technologies and tools such as AI. Maybe it is leveraging, how do I get the most out of, merging together several different marketing programs or functions. They need a gap. They have a gap and they need to fill that gap in some type of marketing strategy. But also, they might need somebody that just knows how to work fast, that knows how to build fast and to get you where you need to be fast. And people can work fast, but there needs to be a smart and fast, an experienced and fast approach. And that's where a fractional chief marketing officer can come into place, especially if they've been a CMO several times and they've seen how things can be deployed right and how they can be deployed wrong. You actually gain a lot of speed and a lot of momentum by having someone who's been there and done that. So for the CEOs, there's a lot of things that is needed, not necessarily the term fractional chief marketing officer. So what do we do with all of this, and how do we help the community, and how do we help companies, and how do we help growth and growth as a action or a function? Well, I want to make some suggestions for fractional CMOs, and then I also want to make some suggestions for CEOs. And for fractional CMOs, it's not that hard. It really is about specializing in specific areas, right? So what is it they say? The riches are in the niches. So find that niche, find that niche, find that thing that you can do better than anybody else, and that is not being bombarded by a lot of other people, and carve out that specialty. That's what you want to talk about on LinkedIn. That's what you want to talk about on your newsletters. That's what you want to talk about when you talk to people. When you talk to other people that might be a referral, this is the specialty I'm looking for. Hey, I'm looking for companies who are in a roll-up strategy. They're acquiring several companies, and I want to be the fractional CMO who goes and solves the problem of taking multiple marketing programs and marketing motions and turning it into an aligned single marketing plan. So for fractional CMOs, specialize, specialize, specialize. You are not a fractional CMO. You are a fractional CMO with a focus on ... Now, for the CEOs, for the business leaders, for the investors, and I hate to give anybody homework, because when you give somebody homework, it's just, it's game over. Nobody wants to do it. But this is an easy homework assignment. Start to think about the power of a fractional CMO, and start to think about what you could do when you've got that fractional CMO and how they could help you get to the next step. Instead of looking for marketing strategy or marketing consultants or asking people, I need X, Y, and Z, tell people you're looking for a fractional CMO or someone who's been a CMO several times who's now taking gigs instead of jobs. And specifically, I need that person, that fractional CMO or that gig hunter, to solve a specific problem for me. And it looks like this. And then when you start to search on LinkedIn, you can get very specific about what you're looking for. When you search on Google, you can get very specific on what you're looking for. So that's my recommendations: is fractional CMOs, specialize, specialize, specialize. For CEOs and business leaders, start thinking about the power of a fractional CMO, and just think about what it could do for you, how it could help you, and how it could really change the game and change the momentum in a positive way of your go-to-market and of your growth strategy. So that's all I've got to say about that. There's definitely a lot more supply than demand. And so I think we can take this and learn a lot from it. My name is Brett Sklar. I am happy that I got to be your hostess with the mostest today. You can follow us on LinkedIn. You can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on basically all the major social media channels. We'd love for you to visit us at our company, Grow, which is growpowerful.io is the URL. Again, growpowerful.io. And there you'll see about 30 of us that are the greatest growth minds in all of B2B tech that serve our clients as fractional chief marketing officers. Hope you have a great day. Wish you all the best, and we'll talk to you again in our next episode.